I'm so lucky to be joined by the winner of FPL last season, FPL Guns, Ali. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Jason. Thank you. Thanks for having me. I've been watching you guys with Ben, of course. It's a really insightful show, so I wish you guys good luck. Yeah, I've been fine. I mean, I've dedicated my break to writing an ebook on winning FPL. It's partially about my journey, basically the decisions I've made and the reasoning behind them, and all the principles I've been following that were really successful for me. So it's a really nice and short and concise book. I recommend it to own, and 30% of the profits will be sent to Street Child United charity. And I'm pretty much excited. I'm really happy with how it came out, and I've been getting all the positive feedback so far. So I'm looking forward to an exciting season.
Yes, it's going to be a good season indeed, especially because we're both Arsenal fans.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. We got some great signings, but I do want to talk a little bit about the end of your season last year. The irony, I'm mentioning it because we are Arsenal fans. Harry Kane helped you to the win. I mean, do you want to talk us through how the big Spurs striker got you over the line?
The reason behind the transfer was I've explained it in details in my book, but shortly, I could say that I've had him during the season. So and I didn't want a Spurs player to ruin my championship grade, so I had to have him. So basically, it was a decision that we all knew due to the team leagues starting. So moved to Kane. So that's why I saved myself from a miserable season. So I had to play safe there with without any bias.
As an Arsenal fan, it must hurt you sometimes if he does score against you. But like you said, that you have to put those biases aside. And just before we get started, obviously you're on my YouTube channel today, but you've got your own YouTube channel. What kind of content are you going to be putting out on there?
I think I'll be, the whole. I I'll be following the same path that I started with. So first couple of videos I've produced were around, game week preview and some predictions for the score predictions for the game. So it might be useful for some of the soft gamblers out there. And some of my predictions were really on spot. So we'll see how the videos go.
Well, make sure to subscribe to Ali's channel. We'll put that in the description below. But we're going to get started with some tips for the season ahead. Now, obviously, you said there in your book there are some, but I'd like to open out some that maybe you've discussed, but also maybe some that you can reveal on the channel. First things that I read that you're looking forward to at the start of the season is maybe making marginal gains in terms of quick, savvy, building on a lot of the kind of I guess high variance at the start of the season. I mean, let's start off with that first tip there and then go through some of your others.
Basically, the first few game weeks are really hard to gain, advantage because um, we have really, you know, like we don't have information on how fit the players are, so we can take on some of the preseason games, some of the expected minutes in terms of some of the goals and assists that players are returning. Ideally, you want a good start to have a good finish, So, but I didn't have a good start last season. You wouldn't bet on me winning it after the third game week because I was, around 3 million overall rank. So, you can. There are strategies out there that I think you have to take advantage of.
Do you build upon that? How do you get from maybe not the best start to that kind of mid part of the season, maybe building up to the Christmas period as well?
You really have to look for opportunities to go against the grain. So I did so by selling Salah in game week three and going Kane. And Kane was continuously scoring 7 or 8 points up until the World Cup break. it's easy said than done, but you you have to take those risks too. No one has ever won it by playing template and having high on players. So you really have to look for opportunities to go against the grain, which can backfire, of course. Which mostly backfires, but I guess I got lucky enough to go all the way. So.
So what I want to know there is like what helps you make your decisions because quite often in FPL it's the eye test versus data debate. So what kind of maybe is a plan that you use to make one of those bold decisions that help shape your season like that?
It's the first 10 or 15 game weeks. You're just trying to make sure that you're getting the maximum points you can. And I've started playing strategically, basically nearly to the end of the season because I have to consider all the players around me and plan ahead. But before that, I was just going instant, based on my eye test, my own football knowledge overall, and basic principles that I've been following all the way.
And so what would you say your favorite stats that you like to go to and when do you usually dip into them? Because like we said, that the first few game weeks are quite hard to gauge. There's high variance. People are kind of bedding into the season. What's a good time to look at your favorite data sets?
I think after first 5 or 6 game weeks, you have to, there's enough data to evaluate players, and expected data is always good in order to read into it. It's not like it's telling you the whole picture, but you can pretty much base your decisions of not getting Almiron because of his low XG goals, and when players are overperforming, you can bet on them being unsustainable. So it's a form is temporary. You can pretty much bet against some of the bandwagons depending on their stats. So you can look into expected goal involvements, assists, and goals as well. Just basic data, and it's all out there. You can benefit as long as you can read through the lines of stats.
So let's also talk about the new rule changes coming into season. We might see more yellow cards. We might see longer games. Are you building your teams? Are you keeping in mind that with lengthier games, there might be less chance of clean sheets?
Yes, absolutely. And the fact that there will be more game time, possibly around 100 minutes and stuff, the bench players could really come on and score against the tired legs. So this changes dynamics of some of the nailed players, because if a player like Trossard is not necessarily nailed, he can still go ahead and get 40 minutes against tired legs. So it's in itself an advantage, because there's a difference between playing 20 minutes at the end of the game or 40 minutes. It's for me, it's an interesting dynamic that we will have to witness it in order to get the real outcome. It's
So
hard to predict at the moment, but you have to just wait and see how it goes. But
so
there
I,
will be a lot of late goals and injury time.
yeah, I guess are you looking to target then those players, maybe the likes of Salah? I don't know if many people have him, but like Tarkowski, they played almost every minute for their team last season. Harry Kane, another one, when he was fit, he had incredible availability rates. Are you targeting those kind of players in mind a little bit maybe above others who often come off early? I think Haaland does have to stay in our teams no matter what. He's just got that ceiling. But there also is the likelihood that, he won't see out every game. He is rested. That Man City squad allows it. Does that affect maybe captaincies as well?
Yeah, it doesn't change anything for the nailed players that are 90 minutes man, but for the players that come off, I would rather have a player coming off the bench rather than someone playing 60 minutes of the game, because the chances of scoring later in the game are higher than the first 60 games, depending on a team, of course. There are stats for different teams, how late they score, how early they score. It team dependent, but I think the major thing changes for the players that come off the bench rather than the nailed ones.
And do you have like any names out there for people that you're keeping an eye on, or is it just too early to say?
I think I have Salah in my latest draft, and he's just his price tag justifies him being nailed, because all of the other attacking assets of Liverpool are, in and out of the starting lineup, and it's hard to predict which one is going to start and get more minutes. So basically, having a nailed player like Salah is an absolute, I wouldn't say must. His ownership is fairly lower than the previous seasons, but I think it's a plus because the minutes are there more than ever.
So, obviously you're here on Premier Injuries channel. And brilliantly, you've joined in some of the kind of live streams that we did last season. It was great to have you involved. But how much do injuries come into your thinking as well? I mean, how in touch are you with injury news? Because quite often Ben and I say wait as long as possible to make your transfers, because the biggest almost secret in FPL is availability. And if you make an early transfer, you might save 0.1, but then if they get injured, then that's redundant.
I don't mind ignoring price rises because of the injuries that happen during the European games and midweek games. I think this is an integral part of my strategy, because when I used to do early transfers, just to keep intact with the price rises uh, and have a high squad value. Once I started ignoring that, my rank improved, significantly. So I advise not falling into trap of price rises, and wait until the last moment, maybe Friday or Saturday before deadline, because there are always news out there, and the Premier Injuries channel is always there for us, as well as the Neil from Fantasy Football Sky, my fellow pro pundit. He's been doing great every week ever since he started. So I've been following. This is the must before you make a decision of a transfer. You have to watch and be aware of the injuries and the starting lineups and team news overall.
We'll have to use that as a tagline for the channel. The world number one says it's a must watch. Now we're coming up to the final few questions here. Because you are a man in demand. You're like one of the FPL assets. Everybody wants to have you on. But who are the players that you might want for your 11? So you said you've got your team there. You've got the kind of 3-5-2 formation. But are there any players that are really offering you a headache that you think, I do want them in, but how am I going to fit them in?
I think there are a few on my watch list that I'll be keeping an eye on when the fixture, swing comes. In terms of Chelsea assets, I think Chilwell is really interesting. In terms of Spurs assets, Madison and Kane, if he stays. Son is up there. I don't know how he's gonna fit into a new system. So there are a lot of we don't know the starting 11 of Liverpool. So we'll wait on that as well, because Hakpo and Nunez or Jota is gonna be a good asset somewhere sometime in the season. So there's a lot on my watch list, and so we'll see how the first game weeks go. And I usually don't make a transfer in game week 2, and then go on and make a mini operation in game week 3 with 2 or 3 transfers.
And so we kind of started talking about how, you like to master the short termist, capitalize on fixtures and things like that. But also, we do tend to plan fixtures, and also wildcard timings are one of the big things. Now, you said there about 6 game weeks in, you usually say that's when you kind of factor in the data. will you also be kind of thinking of a wild card around that time because you'll have that information at hand, or is it more kind of how your team is doing at the moment? You know, if you're back in the top 1K, you probably won't want a wild card that early, will you?
I think it really depends on how well you're doing, of course, but I like to delay it as much as possible because sometimes when you activate your wild card in game week 4 or game week 5, there's not much data out there, and sometimes your old team outscores your wildcard team, and that's why I just suggest to be patient with the wildcard because that's two chips that really define your season. So later you play it. I think you have a advantage over the players that already used their wildcard. So I strongly advise trying to plan for at least 7 or 8 game weeks in the start of the season, and then maybe consider using a wild card. The later you use your first wild card, the later you will use your second. So that's an integral strategy of mine that I've been following for 2 seasons now.
And look where it has got you indeed. Final question for you, Ali. What is the how many points are Arsenal going to win the league by this year?
I think it's going to be close, but I'm really backing Arsenal to win it this year.
Yeah. I really hope so. I feel like if this is going to be the season, this is the one for us to do it. We've also got the gold kit, gold. It's written in the stars, isn't it? Really, that we're going to be champions. And also, I guess for people out there, one of your kind of prizes was you were going to get to go to some Arsenal games this season. I mean, are you really looking forward to that element of the FPL win as well? Is that maybe one of the most exciting things that you get that experience?
Yeah, I've been planning to do that for a while now, but luckily FPL has given me an opportunity to do so and visit not one but 2 matches. And it was a no-brainer for me. I had to pick both home games. So one is going to be Fulham at home, Fulham and Manchester United. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Jeez, I mean, I'm very jealous, and hopefully, when you're in London, you can meet up with some people. It'd be great to say hi to you, and people below in the comments, if you're Arsenal fans that you go to the Emirates quite often, give Ali some restaurant ideas, pubs, whatever you're kind of interested in doing. But for now, for today, Ali, it's been a real pleasure to chat to you. We'll keep up with you through the season as a fellow Gooner. We're going to be sending memes and messages back and forth on that. But I wish you the best of luck and maybe make it 2 years in a row for you.
Likewise, Jason. Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure talking to you.